Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. I'll just check while everyone's coming in. Are we okay with AI meeting notes for this? Is everyone okay? I'll approve. Hello, everyone. How are we?
Hi, Lynn. So nice to see
Hi, good to
you.
be here. Good to see you.
It's always so funny seeing who all knows each other from all the various configurations of calls and working
Yeah.
groups, and this is lovely. Well, as people start to trickle in, I will just do some quick housekeeping and then pass over to our hosts to get us started. But just as a reminder, we are joining today's session. This is the first of this year's monthly think tanks. These sessions happen every month, hosted by a different ITAC member from a different part of the world each month on a topic of their choice. It is an open platform. So if you're watching along and you realize that there's something you'd like to host on a topic that you're passionate about and want to share with the TA community, just email me, let me know. We can organize that. It's not a problem. A few other considerations to be aware of. Today's session will be in English. It might not be everyone on the call's first language. So if we are having discussions or you're asking questions, please don't be offended if we ask you to repeat yourself. Or remember to talk slowly. I'm bad for that. So don't be offended if that's true. Also, if English is not your first language either and you want to ask a question without unmuting, you're also welcome to drop it in the chat and we can read that out too. So, however you want to participate is not a problem. For our host benefit, if you are able to switch your camera on, please do. I think all of us know it's really helpful to get reactions and be able to see people's faces. And it's so much easier seeing faces than black squares. If you want to keep it off for access reasons, whatever, of course you can. But if you are able to, please do pop your camera on. The session today is being recorded. Everyone gave permission to be recorded in that sign up sheet. Um, if for any reason you change your mind, you feel uncomfortable, you can email us afterwards. Otherwise, the session goes up online within a week and people can watch it back. Not everyone in every time zone can log in live. And so that's why we have the recordings so that people can participate in their own way. If at any point we get cut off today, don't panic. We'll just restart the Zoom call from the same link that we're in now. And I think that's everything. You're welcome to use the chat. We encourage you to participate. And I think if there's nothing else, I'll continue to monitor the waiting room and let people in the background. Otherwise, I will hand over to Tan, Cheng, and Frédérick, who will be our hosts for today. Thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, for joining Fred and I today in this think tank, the first of ITAC's think tank this year. In case you're wondering why my name is appearing in a different order, my name appears in different orders depending on whether I'm in Europe, America, or Asia. It's just one of those things. My name is Cheng Han. Tan is my surname. Please call me Cheng. Enough about my name. Fred and I are very excited to host this think tank about mentoring teenagers in the arts because both of us have spent many years collaborating with teenagers. I use the word collaborate very deliberately because I feel that when you work with teenagers, the collaboration is what brings me so much joy. The other that I'm working with them and not just kind of like working as a teacher in a traditional sort of teacher-student role, being able to share ideas with teenagers, being able also to have an in-depth discussion with
Mhm.
teenagers, share their sense of humor, learn what life is like from their point of view. I can always get great book recommendations, movie recommendations from the teenagers that I work with, and also to learn, their fast evolving linguistic expressions, and working at the intersection of popular culture and contemporary literature. My field is creative writing and theater, so that's the area that I work in. One more thing to add before I hand over to Fred. I feel that teenagers like artists are often misunderstood. Maybe that's why I feel an affinity with them. We're labeled as rebellious. We're told that we're loud, we're difficult. We talk too fast. We feel things deeply. I think these are all things that should be celebrated instead of, being kind of like thinking that these are not things that you want to encourage. And yes, teenagers will push buttons and shove boundaries. And there are days when I think and say, sometimes to myself, sometimes out loud, depending on how well I know them, enough with the sarcasm and the eye rolling. Can we just get on with it? Yeah. And I think this is all part of the whole experience of what it's like to mentor teenagers. Fred, over to you.
Totally agree about collaborate. Chen and I collaborate for 5 years, and it beginning at ITAC. So it's really nice to go to giving back to ITAC, and with this idea about teenagers, because we had like several meetings, and we're okay, perfect. Let's do something with a cup of tea, like it's perfect. Let's do something about teenagers, because why? Because sometimes focus is more with youth. There's a lot of project about youth, but maybe there's a lot of projects about teenagers too, but we don't know them and we don't have a lot of links about them. And it's the idea of these workshops, first to see an activity who was like problematic for us with teenagers and to have a little bit of reflection why it was problematic, what it gives us this impression. Maybe it's just an impression too, because what we call in the description of the workshop and what we spoke about it with Cheng is this idea of tiny teenagers irony. Why, when we speak about kindness, teenagers are like so why there is this irony? It was the idea of that. And also I am a theater teacher, I'm a literary teacher, so I have this teacher side, which is more the idea of you have to give grades. So of course there is like some goal that you need to achieve with the students who are really particular, and you have to follow a curriculum. So you have like one task. And as a TA, which I am too, it's completely different. There is the pleasure. And Cheng is the same. She's a TA and a teacher too. So how both are working together and how both are working together with teenagers, I think like that could be something completely different. Today, we will open to everyone. So if you are a TA, if you are a teacher without an artist without any problem, you can participate to this workshop. We will not talk about lack of money and time, because this is basically all universal program, lack of money and time. So we'll really focus about teenagers and how we can make our reflection more powerful about the teenagers and sometimes about the problem that we encounter with them. We will really focus about coping, like this idea of coping with some reactions of teenagers that we had. Yes, cooperation is wonderful with teenagers, but sometimes, just sometimes, we encounter problems. How we can solve those problems? So that will be the idea. We don't have like just the yes, lack of money, time, and space. Yes, space. Yes, of course. Yeah, when you have a big column in your class, it's not easy. I totally agree. And this idea will be really to have a reflection. We don't have like solutions. We have some kind of solution which we will speak about at the end, but the idea is really to have a reflection about it. So we will do 3 activities, and let's start with the first one. We will go by this idea of understanding teenagers by reminding ourselves what it was like. So in the chat, can you describe
Oh,
teenagers
sorry, Fred. We
Yeah.
have to ask everyone to introduce themselves before we jump
Yes.
into
Okay.
that part.
Okay.
Sorry.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
was like
if you
going
could
fast.
write in your chat, your name, your art form or subject that you teach, whether you're a TA or a teacher, or any other name you call yourself,
As
you
I did in
identify
the
with
bio.
as your job description. I think it'll be very helpful for Fred and I to get a sense of who's with us today. Yeah. So your name and your art form or the subject that you teach, and whether you are a TA or a teacher.
You have an example in my title too.
Oh, yes, you have an example in your title. Yes. Yes, and I'll put mine in the chat.
A little bit of time for everyone to write it. It's to know too the specialization of everyone, because we will need some diversity too when we will give some example. So hi Madeleine, hi Cheng, hi Pablo,
Yes.
I
Hello,
am
Anne. Metal arts, love that.
in article reprogram. Okay, it's really nice. Hi Ruben. So we have music. Wow, it's really
Rosie.
nice.
Hello, Rosie.
Rosie, that we
That we know?
don't know, that we don't know. No, that we don't know.
No, we know Rosie. What are you
I
talking
know,
about?
of course, of course.
Hi, Anna. Hello,
Robert,
Robert.
nice to meet you. Muse, super photography.
Jennifer,
Wow,
thank you.
Jennifer, dance. My God, we have like all the field of arts.
We have
That's
all the
really nice.
dance
It
forms, is
was our
amazing. Yeah.
expectation, so it's
Hello,
really cool.
Vinci and Millie. This is fantastic.
Visual workshop.
Yeah, I'm excited by the people who are with us. This is good.
Yes. If you didn't do it, as we have like a short period of time, write it in the chat
Yes.
as we are like following the other instruction without any problem. Do you
So
want to go with it?
I think I'm just gonna start now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll start.
Mhm.
Yes. Our first activity, right. Fred's gonna start us off actually. I will start now, pass it over to Fred.
Activity 1. Aha.
It's
I
like
will
stand
say
up we're doing.
describe teenagers you know or that you work with in your classroom in 1 or 2 sentences in the chat. So now it's not about yourself. Sometimes we are doing this activity about how you were the other teenager, and we're no, we will be original. We will ask you to describe teenagers you know or that you work with in 1 or 2 sentences in the chat. So we will have like some uh, testimonies about teenagers, how they look, what they say. So describe teenagers you know or that you work with in your classroom.
Yeah, just
Uh,
1 or 2 sentences or a
yep,
phrase
really
or
quick.
something you think about when you walk in, you see the group of people you're working with. Hello, Anya, and hello, Abueng. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. That's okay, Rosie. We're very happy to have you here.
Yes, of course. My granddaughter, oh Lynn, my granddaughter is 13, my brilliant
Thank you, Lynn.
advisor. Also, multitude of
Yes.
students who were a teenager, huh?
Yes,
Oh,
they will challenge you. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'll put something in the chat, right?
question is describe. I will put it in the chat. Teenagers that you know or that you work with. There it is. Teenagers I used to work with often said they felt like they never really felt invited to share about their experience or their perspective. They were super smart at usually able to spot nonsense super fast. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Super.
Yes.
Uh, uh no, Teens is cool. I know are looking for the tribe. A tribe. It's interesting, the idea of tribe, and are balancing
Mm.
everyday drama with their growing awareness of larger forces. Uh-huh. These are first shy and needs encouragement with social skills by ignoring that negativity. Great things can happen though. Really interesting because we already see sometimes they can really positive, they look for the tribe. Sometimes they are really like negativity and shy. So it's really like an extreme already. It will be like kind of our topics soon.
Yes, and also like what they show is not always what they really feel. I mean, there's often a need to not appear to be ridiculous, not appear the fear of uh, people judging them,
Mhm.
which yes, often carries into adulthood as well. Um,
Um,
it's okay, Anna. You can watch the recording of the think tank at your own time. Yes.
I recently with a work group of very
Creative
creative
and
and
fearless. I love
fearless
that. I love
theater
that. Creative and
recently that
fearless. Yeah.
is mhm.
Yes.
Uh, mm, mm, mm.
I think also something that I've noticed with the teenagers I work with is um I love it when they surprise themselves and you get a very unguarded reaction from them when they realize they can do something that they didn't think they were able to do. That to me is just really beautiful and moving. Yeah.
Yesterday, actually, Cheng, I had exactly that, and I just know, I just, I just wrote that in the chat that the teenagers notice details, like really, really the
Yes.
small details,
I know the
like,
resting face is very bored, right?
and sometimes they look completely bored, but after the activity, they are really happy. So how they can like transform that in from one to the other.
Yes. Like happy and
So
then oh, okay. Right, look cool, right? No, indifferent, right, bored.
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
Um, so seconds, Lynn, now my experience with teens is that when we did a collective project involving 70 students, creating a
Having a
full-length film
voice.
based in Lorca in Spanish with subtitle in English, they commented how much they learn for being responsible for the project, being responsible, having a voice. Yes, sometimes they need a lot of times they need a voice.
There was
Super.
someone else who said that I can't remember maybe I think it was probably Madeline that said that uh teenagers sometimes are not told to tell things to show things from their point of view or they're not asked how they feel or how they think, because they're constantly being told what to do, what not to do, right? Yeah. Sorry, Fred, you're going to move on to the next thing, right? Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
Uh, Write a sentence that you heard a teenager say. A sentence that a teenager say. And as we will go more like to a process diagram about this will be like the next activity, which will be more about the challenges. Write maybe a sentence that you heard a teenager say and that was challenging for you. Maybe because we will go like from there, we'll go to the crunchy part. Like a teenager who said to you like a challenging sentence. That's interesting. We will give you like 2 or 3 seconds to think about it because it's like a lot of reflection this morning or this night for
Or
Cheng. This
afternoon or
exact
night, depending on where you
or
are.
afternoon for Madeleine. We're all over the world. So a
Yes, we are all over the
sentence.
world. Yeah.
Yep. A sentence. I will write in the chat with your task a sentence that you heard.
While you're thinking, on a plane, I sat across the aisle from a teenage girl. She looked like she was probably like 16 or 17, and her mom. And the the teenager, the daughter said something quite loud, and her mom sort of shushed her. And then she said, "Ow, am I not allowed to feel pain?" And I
Uh-huh.
was sitting across the aisle very close to her, trying so hard not to laugh, thinking, okay, right, poker face. Yeah.
Mm. For
Yes,
me,
I'm looking at here. Okay.
For me, it was really clear. The subject was home. That is nothing interesting. Ah, okay, super. So I have like the complete cut of I can do anything. Okay, super. So and Abueng, you were writing that you're working with juniors and soon will teens. So now you will have like some problems, but there's solution, that's for sure. So
Yes, the feeling that the
Uh,
teacher doesn't care about them. Yep. Yep. And then they came to you, Robert. Yes. I think it helps when they
mhm.
know they have someone they can go to speak their mind, to share. Yeah. I
We
don't think it should be my job to make other people feel comfortable.
I really like it. Okay, it's really fun this quotes.
That's
Like if I were
great.
to have like a
Yes. Please
portrait
keep
of
them coming.
we never learned this when you were their teacher before, and no, they did learn the. Oh yes, yes, so true, so true, so true. Oh my God, it's like to have all the quotes of the teenagers of the world. Super. I
It's
think everywhere in
true.
the world, the
It's
teenagers
like I
are listening.
remember things if I've taught them a whole year or 2 years in a row. And they can't remember stuff I said last week. It's
Yep, clearly.
yeah.
Super. So that was a little introduction. I think we'll step to activity two, Cheng, to
The
have the
second
time to
part, right?
fully
Yes.
do it. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So it could have been a while since you were a teenager. It's definitely been a very long time for me. But what we would like you to do is to think about, in what ways do you think you are still similar to a teenager? In what ways are you still similar to a teenager? And we're happy for you to unmute and tell us, or if you feel happier, click too many. Choose one, Lynn, or two. If
And
you're happy to unmute and share with us, or if you want to type it in the chat, it would be nice to hear some other voices now for a change, besides just me and Fred. Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Jen. Whenever I
yep.
go into a new class with people with teenagers I don't know, I see how nervous they are, I always make it a point to tell them, I'm feeling just as nervous as you are. I'm just gonna put that out there. And can we just skip to the part where we know each other and we are comfortable with each other? Can we just skip to that and skip all that awkward silences and stuff? Yes, being talked down to. Oh yes.
Can I
Yeah,
cut and paste? I
we
really
should
like.
tell our teenagers that we work with that this people talking down on you, it's never gonna go away. You just have to deal with you just have to find a coping mechanism for it.
Can do someone wants to have a little talk about like in what ways you're similar to a teenagers and to answer like Cheng answer. For me, clearly the rebellious side and the idea of working. For me, theater is working with all the things that you cannot do in life. And for me, you have the right to do it. So like it's the way of possibles. So I think that I have the right to shout in class not as a teacher, but as a TA, and they have the right to shout with me. Not always, but we try. So for me, is that is a someone wants to go. Pablo, like, break the rules. You can just unlock your micro and take the lead if you want.
Yeah, that's great, Pablo. Thank you for sharing that. Love that.
Yes, to break
Yeah,
rules.
yeah, just, basically that. I mean, I still get very nervous as I did when I was a teenager. I mean, to speak in public is something it's a challenge that I have always had since I was a kid. But at the same time, I have this issue with norms and rules, and it's like I don't understand them sometimes. And I think I bring that since I was a kid and a teenager, like, uh, as we grow up, it's like you need to follow more the rules, but I don't believe in that. It feels weird for me. So I think that's something I keep on me still today.
Yeah, thank you for
And
sharing that.
yeah, and I mean, I still feel like I am different from the rest. So, and I love that, like, feelings. Yeah.
Yes, Barry. Yeah, that's great too. Did you want to tell us more about it?
Well, I'll just say every so often see a report about someone doing something or a career option, and I just think, oh yeah, I should do that. I'll do that. And then I realized, no, I don't have time. You know, that boat has sailed a long time
Mhm.
ago. Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share? Yes, Lynn, please,
Just
please go ahead.
just briefly, I think that I feel the vulnerability that teenagers just are so exposed with. And then at the same time, a real openness, sort of what both Pablo and Barry was saying, an openness to explore something brand new. This is exciting. The lights are going on. So sort of both of those.
We have time to hear from one more person. Would anyone else like to share before we move on to the next part of the next activity? No? Okay, let's move on. More questions for you to think about. It'd be useful if you had something to write on, piece of paper, a notebook, your phone, your laptop, whatever is comfortable for you. This is going to be our main activity. What I'm going to do now is ask you 4 questions for you to reflect on. And this has to do with the work that you've done. Um, the work that you've done with teenagers. Uh, so the first one the first question would be in 1 to 2 sentences, write about an activity you've used with teenagers that has made you feel vulnerable. And I'll put this, okay, thank you very much, Fred. 1 to 2 sentences, write about an activity you used with teenagers that's made you feel vulnerable. And if you don't work with teenagers, that's totally fine. Just answer the questions with the age group of people, students that you normally work with. It would totally work as well. Yeah. So I'm just going to be very mean with time and give you 1 minute to write about this. This can either be a recent project or it could be just some an activity that's part of a larger project that has stayed with you in your memory from either the recent past or a longer time back. That's totally fine as well. Okay, thanks, Pablo. You don't have to share this in the chat, just write the answers down for yourself. Because the 4 questions will sort of like lead on to one another. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question. You have your activity now. Going into the activity that you just described, in which parts of the activity did you feel vulnerable and why? In which parts of the activity did you feel vulnerable and why? The second question is, in which part of the activity that you wrote about in question 1 that made you feel vulnerable? Then we're moving on to the third question. In which part of the activity did you feel confident and why? So you talked about when you felt vulnerable. So now let's talk about something positive. In which part of the activity did you feel confident and why? Okay, thanks, Anna. And I'm going to move on to the final question. Um, in this activity that you just wrote about, how did the teenagers react to the entire activity, and how did you expect them to react? How did the teenagers react to the activity you facilitated for them? And how did you expect them to react? Was it the same, your expectations and how they responded, or was there a difference? So as you're finishing up writing your answers to the four questions, I'd like to ask the group for three people to volunteer to share. And because we have such a lovely wider range of different art forms being different people working in different art forms with us today, it'd be great to hear from three different art forms. So you'll just be sharing your reflections on the four questions that you've just answered. So let me know if you'd like to unmute and just share. It'd be nice to hear rather than having to read like we've been doing, because this will be a Robert, please.
Hello, everyone. So I chose to respond from when I was more of a practicing teaching artist. I'm currently a program manager supporting teaching artists. But I did a creative port, and I'm a photographer. I did a creative portrait workshop with some teens, and it almost immediately a lot of them opened up about their anxieties, like around their appearance and like their self-perception and just like maybe self-esteem. And so that made me feel vulnerable because I'm empathic and I was just like feeling for them and feeling anxious. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to push you, push against your boundaries around this or upset, trigger any things. And so it was challenging at first when I was like, okay, now who wants to be the first person to participate? And it was crickets. Um, and then I think a little bit later, if a few people trickled in, and um, I started to feel confident when they started collaborating on their portraits. It was like an overhead projector kind of like set up, and so they were helping one another like create frames and stencils and like giving each other props to hold and things like that, just like building on one another's portraits, and it made them less self-conscious and more like, what can we do together, and like how can we make the crazier idea. And um eventually like they pulled their teachers in, and they liked it so much afterwards that they invited me back for a second workshop once word got out that and more people wanted to participate. And I was hoping for that response, but I was definitely not prepared, I guess, initially going into it for that initial sort of like hurdle of like just like insecurity, like teenage adolescent insecurity and self-perception, and they're still figuring out how they want to see themselves and be seen. And some of them don't want to be sort of perceived at all in some ways. And so yeah, that's something that I was reflecting on in this exercise. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I feel that your empathy that you have for the people you work with plays a huge part in this because, you know, because they're very sensitive and they feel things so deeply, teenagers can sense the people they can trust, the people they feel are open to listening to them. And that's I think that's a very important thing to remember when you're mentoring and working with teenagers, that you need to also allow yourself to be vulnerable within what you're comfortable with as a teacher and as a TA, to say, yes, this is a safe place for you to share what you would like to share with me, with the rest of your classmates, and as you said, once they were comfortable, right, and then getting over the initial hurdle, and then you got into the activity, and then they invited you back, right? Yes. I feel that I can relate to the experience that you've had similar experiences. I'm sure other people in the group have also had similar experiences like that. Yeah, thank you. So that can we hear from another person? Another who would like to share? It could be anyone who's written in the chat. Yeah, but it'd be good to hear your voice
I
and
see
hear the
Lynn's
story that you're
hand
telling.
going up.
Is there a hand going up? Sorry.
I saw Lynn put a hand up.
Okay.
Well,
Lynn.
if somebody else wants to go, because I've already talked, so otherwise I will go happily.
Go.
Uh, I love this exercise. I remember a time where I was working in an after-school club for the Multicultural Club, and we were creating a piece about about discrimination and different forms and how that took. And because I was leading this workshop with the students, I had to be very honest as well. And so that did put me in a vulnerable position, which also is a binding position. And we did this a number of vignettes, and we performed it for their peers. And the amazing thing was seeing, I mean, this one student I remember seeing how the the peers reacted, because some of those peers were the ones who were either bullying or discriminating against or doing horrible things. One of the kids was had a very severe stutter and was Black and was felt discrimination on all sorts of levels. And one of the peers said, because we had a discussion afterwards, and one of the peers was saying, well, I was one of those kids who bullied you, and and then you'd see this amazing transformation of the performers, the kids who performed, and also some of the people who were observing it and were part of that. So that was very rewarding.
That's amazing, right? For
Oh,
for
and
the
I just want to say
yes.
that the young man that had a severe stuttering issue did not stutter one bit when he was doing his performance
Mhm.
with the other kids. So
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very moving, isn't it, for the teenagers to see their stories from another point of view, for the bully to see his behavior reflected, and for him to be brave enough to say, yes, I was one of the people who bullied you. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. We have time for one more. Who would like to share?
I can share.
Yes, thank you, Anne.
So last year I was the adult leader of a teen science cafe, which was funded by the Science Foundation, sort of as science was being defunded in America, which was an interesting experience. But we had about 4 or 5 teens that we took, we kind of rewrote the program to fit what was happening in the world. So we ended up taking the kids to STEM environments. And, I had hoped to lean more into art science, but it was really interesting. This particular group of kids were all on IEPs, which I don't know if you have in Europe, but they're individual educational plans. So it means they all had some sort of educational something. And one was very enthusiastically autistic, which he announced to everybody all the time, but he's now in college. And I think probably it was the most effective for him, but you have to realize what was going on in our city where they had like closed the teen center, demolished the skate park, moved the playground from in front of the teen center. And the teens weren't feeling very included. So taking them around to these science places, and we fortunately live near the University of New England. So we went to a lot of labs and they got to talk to the scientists directly, and the scientists talked to them and answer all their questions. And it was incredibly powerful for them. They gave presentations. It turned out one of them was aphantasic, something I'd never heard of, and kind of important for an art teacher to know. So she actually did a presentation on that in front of peers. And it was just really good at a good time for them. We weren't able to continue it completely through the nonprofit I was working with, but they're still doing STEM related things, so we're still doing art and science things in the community. But the kids from that group, like we visited IDEX, which is a big veterinary medicine company that might be even international, but coming out, the senior who's now in college started screaming, "I want to work here." And then he also said, "I never thought a geek could be so interesting. Being a geek could be so interesting." So it helped that one of the nonprofit that I was working with was a bicycle center, and they had a volunteer from that company, and he gave us a tour. So he showed us his workplace and his desk and everything. And it was so much more powerful than kids. Kids are being pushed into STEM fields a lot these days, but to actually see what that looked like, I think was a lot more impactful. And they were great, and were very engaged and enthusiastic about it. So should be more things like that, which are now pretty much, well, they have a little bit of funding left, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing project that you just shared with us. Yeah, and to give them those new experiences and to take them out of their everyday sort of situations and see other possibilities. That's just amazing. Yeah. Fred, would you like to share?
Yes, I will
Yes.
share you a white screen to observe like the filters that the teenagers have with the reaction. So Cheng and I, when we were speaking about this idea of vulnerability, of course, we were extracted this idea of how you expect, and of course, sometimes there's a lag between like this expectation and the reaction, of course, like this obvious. But we had this idea about those reactions. So I will ask you to see the reaction that you noticed of the teenager that you wrote down. And I will share you a white screen because it will be easier on a white screen. And I will write on it because we observe basically, I had like a good shapes, but it will be easier like that. Do you see the screen? There's no problem? Yep,
Yes.
perfect. And I will write down extremes. So we noticed, Cheng and I, that there is really like two ways of react of teenagers, and sometimes as they are really intense, and as Cheng said that they are really committed, we have sometimes passive reaction and we have sometimes active reaction, and we are really like in both ways, and sometimes there is no middle. So as with all the reaction that you notice, the idea is you can say it out loud in the micro without any problem, or writing in the chat. But I noticed already since the beginning, like some reactions. And the idea is not to have everything. The idea is not to be right or wrong. The idea is just to do a little reflection about why this situation makes you so vulnerable. And because teenagers can like touch really, Cheng said the button, and sometimes we have a lot of button. So why they choose this button? First, they are really sensible, of course. But I noticed two or three things that you said since the beginning. I noticed here, so it's about the reaction. Sometimes their passive reaction is insecurity. So really like, oh, I don't want to see anything. I just want to have a mask, nothing blind. So sometimes it's insecurity. So maybe that's why we felt vulnerable and we feel their vulnerability and so on and on and on. So there's a feedback there. And completely the
Sorry,
opposite.
Fred, do you want to
Yep.
move the passive reaction and insecurity because the toolbar is blocking the toolbar is blocking the
Like
words?
there, like this, like
Uh
this.
yeah, so if you move the
Yep.
passive more towards the center and the word insecurity, because we
There,
I only see the
there.
word security, I don't see the in. Yeah, so
Ah,
I'm
okay, okay,
wondering,
okay,
is it
okay.
being blocked for
Uh,
other people? Yeah.
I will like that. Is it better?
Too small.
Ah, too small. Okay, like
Yeah.
that. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay, super.
Too
So I would
big.
just, yep, too big. I would just assure that to
Yeah,
work
okay.
passive there, and I would just find my active. Okay, active there, and I would just find my security. 2 seconds. I would find security here. Do you see everything?
No. If
No
you could
again?
move it. No, I can't see it. Yeah, now I can. Yeah,
Okay,
this is good. Okay.
perfect. And there
Yeah.
is this idea of security, which is completely the opposite. Like the idea of, no, I'm like so cool, like you will see, which is sometimes both mask, but for other reason. I noticed that sometimes too, there is this idea of not wanting to be different. So this idea of no, I don't want to be different. I want to be part of the mass. I want like really be completely like unnoticed. And the other way about this idea of assuming differences. So no, I really want to be completely different from the others. I don't want to be part of the tribe, like Robert, I think, said. So really this idea of assuming differences. I noticed too this idea of between respect here, but a respect completely silence thing. So really respect, but sur-respect, as I would say, that I would not do anything. And as I'm working a lot with welcoming students, they are really, really grateful to be in Canada. They are so kind that sometimes they are really, really, it's not even shy, is that they don't want to do it because they don't want to disturb. So that's really something that I noticed with immigrants in Canada, especially because I worked for 8 years with immigrants. And of course, this idea of I don't want to disturb anybody because I'm just arrived here. I'm grateful to be here. Sometimes it's sometimes that I noticed, and completely the opposite, as Chen and I, rebellious. So completely the other side of the frame of the board. So I noticed that. We I noticed too this idea of close. So completely close to the reaction or too much open. That could be another problem. If you have like the 12-volt battery kid, teenager doing like, that can be to another problem. So I would like you to check again on your reaction. This little filter, that's why in the diagram it's like a filter, transparent, because it's a filter. You have the filter of how you expect, but you have the filter of the reaction of the teenagers. And to say to me some passive and active reaction, and why not middle? Maybe there's middle that you notice to add in this board. So I'm really curious. So you can have like 2 seconds, and don't be shy to share it either in the chat, either saying it. And we will complete the passive and active reaction to make like just this idea of, oh, maybe it's our part, maybe it's their part, maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 70-30, but at least to see, oh, yes, they have all that is going on. So, yes, feel free to share the reaction that you had about the activity that makes you vulnerable, either in the chat, either in micro. I think everybody is like reflecting, having their notes. That's normal. We have another one actually, which was emotions. So a lot of emotion, which should be there. And what Cheng called, and I really like it, death inside, in appearance.
Just very very poker face, right? Not
Yep.
showing anything, just blank face. Yes.
Vocal support, growing
Yeah.
security. Yeah, really
Yes.
super. So vocal support for each other, growing security, group acceptance. I will put it in the
In the active side, yeah.
active side. Yep, in the active side. No.
Performing apathy, I love that. I've
Ah,
never heard it described like that before. It's perfect. It's really it really is a face you put on, right? It's like yeah, I don't really care, you know.
so interesting. Performing apathy. Yeah,
Yes.
clearly. Yes,
I love that.
clearly.
I
You
am
can
writing
do
this
it.
down somewhere so I can remember it. Performing apathy.
As I said to my teacher when I have problems sometimes, to my students when I have problems sometimes of participation, I say like, you take more energy not participating than participating.
Yeah, it takes
So,
more energy to put on the performing apathy face than just to let your emotions come through, right?
yeah, that's why performing apathy is really, really interesting. Anybody wants to add some things between the passive and reaction? Notice kids who tend to be really loud,
Yes.
relaxing, and sitting back a little more and more comfortable, they become uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah,
Uh,
the loudness, you're right, Madeline. Yeah, the loudness just come from a place of anxiety or insecurity.
yep, clearly. So
Yeah, the
relax.
complaining as a smoke screen, right? Yeah, and yes, the complaining as a smoke screen, and then really very diligently and carefully getting on with the task. Yep.
Can you say that to me? I think I was writing stress
Oh,
and
okay. So,
anxious.
like complaining would be the passive, kind of
The
like a passive aggressive
yeah,
reaction. But then really on the inside, you know, the teenager is very carefully, very attentive to the task, very
ouais.
to yeah, attentive to what the task that she's doing, he or she is doing.
Super. And someone wrote distracting behavior. That's really nice too. This idea, I really like this. This board participative is so nice. So, like this idea of distracting behavior, I want to, I can either perform apathy or I will really get the attention with that.
Yes. Yes,
Uh,
distract, disrupt.
we
Um,
have
yeah,
we
make
have
yeah, yes. Yep, distract and
real
disrupt. Yes.
we have
Yeah. That can be
resistance.
so yeah. Yeah. I'm trying
And
to find a word. The distractions. Yeah, sometimes depending on how many people in the room kind of lean into and take part in distracting, it can totally derail your entire activity or your entire lesson. Um, it's almost as if they're saying, "What are you going to do about it?" Right? How are you going to take back control? Yeah, we are taking over now. Yes.
yeah, and the do and the say, like the contradiction between both,
Yes. Yeah.
clearly.
Yes.
Super. Other answers for passive and active reactions? There's a lot of reaction actually. So
Okay.
we can pass
I'm keeping
to
an eye on the time, and I think we should move on to the next activity. Yeah.
yep.
So this will be our final activity because we're supposed to finish in about 20 minutes time. We may go over a little bit, right? But in this next one, we want to move on and talk about how teachers and teaching artists cope with gaps of support in your working environment. So, once again, I'm gonna ask you a few questions and you can use that to think about your reactions, what happens in your situation, in your school, in your art making space. Yeah, and then we'll start a discussion again, and Fred will capture it again in another diagram for us. So the focus of this think tank is talking about managing and coping with teenage behavior, which we've all just heard about um, in the mirror board that Fred just shared with us, right? So when you face these issues, when you face these instances of passive or negative behavior, how do you cope with it? Do you talk to your colleagues about it? Do you bring it home and talk to your family and friends about it? Who would you say is your main source of support when you face problems when you're mentoring teenagers or your students? And also, in what areas would you like more support? So once again, we're not talking about lack of time or money. We're just going to focus on coping strategies for teenagers' behavior. And I will put down in the chat the questions that I just asked you. But anytime you are ready, if you'd like to share, please just unmute and talk to us, or put your answers in the chat.
Yeah. One thing I've been trying to struggling with in my community is getting a better connection between classroom teachers and out of school time, after school staff, because it can often be a lot of clues to how kids are in school as opposed to outside school, but and also the local social workers, and I'm more connected to the social workers than the classroom teachers, but um yeah, professionals, I think like just getting together every so often. We have a bi-weekly meeting we call Coffee and Donuts, which sometimes doesn't have either, but to just get on the same page.
It's
And
just a
it's really
meeting.
helpful. Yeah, it's really helpful to sort of, like combine our resources or just information in general. A kid might be behaving a certain way because, well, right now, a lot's going on in our neighborhoods. So, knowing what's happening generally in the city is really important too.
Yes, I know the divide between the teacher and the after school hours teacher. In the art school that I taught in, um, the divide was between the art form teachers and the academic teachers.
Mhm.
And as Fred and I were discussing,
And I really do a lot of um, arts integration. So
yes,
it's even more important. It would be particularly helpful, but a lot of times I have worked with some art teachers um, in local schools, and one particular project that was an out of school time summer project, but connection with the social studies teachers and the English teachers is sometimes harder to get, and they're very, very stressed out right now, so I can understand that. But I feel like we could be a support in out of school time where kids have more time to reflect. Um, but that's not really appreciated at the moment.
thank you, Anne. Would anyone else like to share? Where is your source of support? In what areas do you think you would like more support in your work with teenagers? Your work in either the classroom or the academic, either in the classroom or in the art making space.
I could share more about the support where we would like more support. So I used to
Yes.
work, I would be going into schools to work with, and someone else said this too, the at-risk kids. And they weren't labeled that by me, they were labeled that by the classroom teachers who were struggling to know how to manage behavior or what to do with them. And that group was mixed with the recently arrived young people who didn't have translators in classrooms yet, so also couldn't participate fully in class because the language wasn't bridged for them yet. And I think what I found was I never wanted to ask or flag support to other teachers because there was this existing label on the kids of being difficult or needing help. And that was not my experience of them usually at all. But there was this feeling of if you ask for support in whatever issue I was having in making the stuff land or getting them on board, that was a sort of pedagogical issue, right? That I would want support with. But I was always nervous that that became seen as the kids being an issue again, or the kids being, and so I think where there could be more support is just general support for teachers, classroom teachers, around navigating behavior, because I don't always think it is that the teens are difficult. I think it's that the teachers are stretched and don't have the capacity, certainly here in Scotland, to take the time to fix the problem. It's easier just to remove the child. And I think that was where I was like, oh, I can't ask for the support I need because I think it's going to make the problem worse, you know? So
Yeah.
more support for the teachers so that problem doesn't happen in the first place would kind of be my thinking.
Yeah, I know I was nodding a lot because I mean, a lot of what you said, Madeline, is something I faced as well, which is you see different sides to the same teenager, depending on whether the teenager is in a theater class with me, or in a physics class, or in a mathematics class, or in an English language class. And sometimes teachers don't understand it. Often at meetings, it sounds like we're talking about, 3 or 4 different people when it's really the same, the same student, right? And yes, I agree with you. Strategies for overstretched teachers is definitely what I thought was lacking as well. That as a teacher, yes, I have my training and my experience and my empathy, but I'm not a trained counselor. So when you want me to function as a counselor, I feel incredibly inept and I feel like I'm an imposter, and also in Singapore, there's a lack of school counselors in schools. Um, and it's staggering the lack, one counselor. You have to deal, there might sometimes only be one counselor in the entire school or 2 counselors in a school with 1,000 people, 1,000 students or a few hundred students. Those numbers are crazy, I mean, it's impossible, right? Especially at a time now when students are, I feel this current generation of teenagers are very much more open in talking about issues of mental health and gender, what gender they identify with, and sexuality and all of those issues. So they're more open to talk about it compared to students from like 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's really important that there's more support for both the teachers and the teenagers in schools, I think.
Only advantage, I think, to knowing how a child's what we call the IEPs, what they're identified as, is in that you can do a counter narrative to that. Like I just put in the chat where, I had a kid who was labeled ADHD and yet was the most like focused on task oriented with like hyper focus. And it was good to support her on that through projects, so that, at least people know that what they might be identified with a label isn't necessarily the whole story. And then maybe you can also present that different side to one of their teachers, and maybe that label will get revised a bit. But so it gives you sort of an advocacy point as well.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share? I think we can hear from 1 or 2 more people if there's anything you'd like to share. Yes, Robert.
Thank you. I I said my main source of support, would be the school staff, just echoing Ann's sentiment around like really the importance between like OST providers and like in-school support. And I would like more support specifically with equipping teaching artists to navigate language and learning barriers, like providing more opportunities for development and career development, personal development workshops, and even things like this, like, seminars like this where opportunities where, like minds can come together and like problem solve or share or like take away resources that can like better their practice. Um, and also having a voice in the school culture meetings, because a lot of times as an OST, service providers, you'll know, like they don't always tell us when their school is going to close, or they don't always tell us when there's testing halfway, and then now all the programs are canceled. And also like a lot of our schools, we serve a lot of like at risk and so on populations, and they have curfews that directly conflict with like our hours of operation. And so things like that are systemic because they come down like they're based on like like the culture of that school. But as a partner, I feel like there needs to be more like a culture shift of like seeing arts and enrichment and things like that as like just as vital as like career building skills. Um, and yeah, just like offering that space for collaboration and to better support who we're serving.
Yeah, you're right. It's just the logistics of just making sure basic communication gets through when you have a session and when you don't, and not assuming. I've also had that happen in a school where I work full time and there are changes and shifts in academic timetables that then affect the arts, and then they don't tell us about it. And you find out on the day at the time it's happening that this is no longer happening, right? And it's frustrating, right? That there's a perception that, oh, what I'm doing is more important than what you're doing. But no, it's all equally important. Yeah, yes. Yep.
Sometimes it's also the type of knowledge that they will have access to with the TAs will be completely different than the teacher. Like, and the problem is that as a teacher, it's really easy to show like that they have more knowledge. Like it's really easy, perfect, you have an exam, that, and the succeed rate, which is like the fashion in Quebec, like we are speaking about succeed rate everywhere, is really easier to measure. But the problem is the succeed rate with something more sensible, with emotion, how you can manage that, how you can statistically demonstrate that. So sometimes this idea is that it's art up, or it's a TA, okay, perfect, super, they learn nothing, they just did something. That's really hard to demonstrate to people, especially with directors, and it's especially that it's way more efficient, because sometimes it's with the time, sometimes it's with the idea that in 1 year you will think about it, sometimes it's efficient right now. So it really depend, but the measuring of it's really hard on teenagers, and especially with teenagers who have like this idea of, we spoke about it, like this active passive. If they don't demonstrate anything, but afterwards they say, oh my god, it was so nice, you're like, okay, you can say it to your face. So this idea is like in between, how you can measure the efficiency of that, and it's not that easy to show, especially with teenagers.
Yeah. Did you want to share the next diagram? Because we have technically 5 minutes left. So we are gonna go over.
Yep.
But if you have to leave, we understand.
But the most important, like stay for 3 minutes at least because we need to share you something. So I will just share
Yes.
you the we will share it with you anyway with the link. But I will share to you my screen and the idea so of the conversation that we had. So I will go really fast to share that and this one. So basically for now, sorry if there is like some mistake because I did it really, really fast because you're speaking about a lot of things. Basically for now, there is the resources that could be school staff or tools for language and learning barriers. That's really interesting because I'm working on that actually. Challenges, see the TA as a support, more as a task to add. That's, I think, a very, very like nice path to work on. Existing label, more support for teachers, art form teachers, and academic teacher, the opposition between, and a connection teacher and the other member working with teens. So that's like some of the challenges that we have and that we'll try to make some progress about it. About all of that, about the challenges, Cheng and I will work on a group, a checklist to mentor teenagers and to help mentoring teenagers. And you will have the checklist, but we will complete the checklist with all the information that we have today. And this is the idea. But actually, I saw two checklists who are really interesting, how you can like help teenagers to how you can cope with teenagers sometimes. I like the idea of warm up personally, and sometimes we don't have any ideas of warm up. Sometimes we're completely we use too much warm ups that we don't have another idea of warm up, but we all know that it's really important. So for me would be like this idea of having more ideas having about like warm up and how you can like warm up kids in another way. So for me, like first warm up, never forget the warm up. That would be like my first checklist. And but I'm still curious about which form it can take. So and more than that, really simple, just ask how they do, because I discover as an artist that teacher didn't take any time to ask even how are you today. Each day that I was with teenagers, I discovered that the teacher never took the time to do it. So that's my two checklist points.
Okay. Yeah. I think mine, which is connected to what Fred said, is taking the temperature in the room when they walk in to see how they are. Because as you said, people don't, not every teacher will ask, "How are you doing today?" But just from the way they walk in, even though it's at the same time every week that I see them, I can tell when I'm gonna have to shift and um, get rid of a plan I have in mind and do something else, or sit down and have a chat with them or give them some time to. One time, my students came in and they looked like they were about to pass out. They were so tired. And I just turned up all the lights and I said, I'm going to give you 15 minutes. Put your head down, close your eyes, find a place if you want to stretch and lie down and just have a break because otherwise we will get nothing done today. I was happy to just give them a break because, they've been at it for a long time. The other thing that I do that I found very useful is I give the teenagers in my that I work with a choice whenever they can because they are told constantly from the moment they step into school to the time they leave, maybe when they go home as well, you can do this, you cannot do this, you must not do this. So whenever I can give them a choice, I will give them a choice. So it could be as simple as if we're doing a lot of writing in class that day. And I'll say you take a break whenever you want to. You want to listen to music, go for it. You want to get up and stretch. This is your writing time for the next hour. You write in whichever way you want. And I feel yes, some of them will take advantage of it, but most of them appreciate that I'm giving them control, and they have a say in what they're doing. Yeah. So those would be the two things that I would share right now. But yes, we will come up with a list of yeah, a checklist that you can use when you're mentoring teenagers. The problems with that you mentioned with the school, that will take a longer time and a longer discussion, which takes us to our next point. So what we hope to get out of today is the idea that we want to start a working group of people who are interested in discussing, sharing their experience of strategies that will help you mentor teenagers. So the work group is just a group of people who are interested, and we hope to start our first meeting in April. And if you are interested to join the work group, please let us know in the chat. The other thing is it starts with the work group and we're sharing experiences and knowledge. And then over time, what we hope to do is to share what we come up with the larger community in ITAC, right? And we're not really sure how often we will meet, but just hopefully sometime in April we'll get together and we will have our first meeting and we'll sort of take it from there and see what happens. Yeah. I mean, the discussion we've had today has been amazing already, right? With the short amount of time that we've had. So I'm excited to hear more if you'd like to spend more time with us to find out more. Yeah.
There is no
Fred and I will also
particular.
so if you could put down your is there a particular demographic for this work group? You mean Adiola, do you mean for the participants? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you
mean
meant?
for the members of the work group, in terms of are you looking at a particular area, locality? Because it does appear as if we cut across different continents right now.
Yes, no, so we're not looking, thank you. Thank you for explaining. We're not looking for a particular demographic. I think if we can find a time to meet, obviously because we're all spread across various different time zones, sometimes it'll be morning for some people and nighttime for others. We'll try and find a suitable time.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes, Anne. Okay, great. Fred and I will just share our emails in the chat. So you can and actually if you can share your emails with us,
Mhm.
then we can come up with a list. So yeah, those are our emails.
Can I make a suggestion? Because I know lots of people watch this back. They don't
Yes.
watch it live. What would be the best way for someone who's watching this but doesn't have access to the chat to let you
Okay.
know that they would like to
Uh,
join? So I have a suggestion if you're not sure. We have in our members platform forums, and we haven't ever really we haven't activated them yet fully because we're still trying to figure out the best way to do it. But there is a forum for think tanks. And this think tank, the recording will go there, your slides will go there if you want to share them. So we could post your email addresses there and people could look in the forum under this think tank's heading and find how to reach you.
yeah, that sounds great.
Great.
Of course, and
That
if
sounds great.
people
Yes.
want, because this is the first ID that we will work on, so a group of working group, but sometimes too, and today I heard like a lot of things so cool, like the project of Robert, the project of Anne, the project of Lynn that I know, of course, that could be really fun if in the forum too or here we write more about activities led with teenagers. So Cheng and I observe too that sometimes I think that there's a lot, but we don't know which kind of activities are led with teenagers. So it could be on the forum as well. That could be really interesting. And if you want to share with us activities that you did with teenagers, that could be an idea of creating a repertory or something like that to have ideas and more ideas about what to do with teenagers. So that's one of
Yeah.
the project that we have to.
Like a resource sort of package for, yep, that sounds great. Yep. Oh, this sounds like everyone. Madeline, would you be able to send us the chat so we can the chat details so we have
Yes.
access, Fred and I have access to everyone's emails?
Yes, this
Um,
should automatically save, but just in case it doesn't, let me download it right now.
okay,
Just to be
fantastic.
sure.
Just to be sure. Yes.
As a word of conclusion, I think, Cheng, yes, for you.
Oh, for me?
Yes, I can
No,
do it. Just
I
wanted to
think
be
you should
sure.
go first. I think you
Perfect.
should go first.
As a word of conclusion, the idea is today it's not a methodology, it's the idea of ways of reflection about like some problematic that we have or some really joyful occasion that we had with them. And the idea is really to focus a special group, a special bank of resources, especially for teenagers, because I think if there is one thing that we're all agree is that youth, adult, and teenagers are completely separated things for TAs. It's completely another reaction. It's completely another way of being. So this idea of mentoring, this reflection, and it was really interesting because yesterday on Instagram, I just saw a specialist, but it's like Instagram, so the resources, no? And it was, oh, the teenagers' years are from the neuroscientist 9 to 32 years old. So now
What?
we changed like the perspective of teenagers. It was just a funny conclusion, but basically, this idea of working with teenagers and to know what will be the best to reach them. I think that's really, really important. And I hope that we'll see each other and to continue to speak about it. So that was my
Yeah.
conclusion. And I asked Cheng to do another conclusion.
It's very hard to
only-
follow that, Fred. I mean, you've summed it up beautifully. Yeah. I just want to thank everyone for taking time out to spend with us today, and also for sharing your experiences on the chat and telling your stories in person. Yeah, it's been amazing. I loved meeting all of you, and I hope you will join us when we set up the meeting in April. Yes. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Yeah. Yes, and you can have a look at Lynn's resource. Yes. Borders to Bridges, which was Lynn, tell us a little bit about that. Closing with that. Tell us about that.
Oh, I just happen to have it right here. It's a great.
Of course, you have it with you.
Fred and I. Yeah, it's 294 pages of lots of different exercises by people from 38 different countries, and Fred has tried it out. And he's a piloter, and if you just there, I left my Borders Lynn LD at borders to bridges at gmail.com. I will love to send you a digital copy for free. Just yeah.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. There's so much in there. Yeah, beautiful range of activities. Yes. Yeah. So, lovely meeting all of you, and we will be in touch, right? And hopefully we'll see you again very soon. Yeah. Hey,
Thank
Rosie.
you
you
so
so
much, and thank you to
Thank
you
you
for
so much.
hosting. Thank you, Fred.
Nice
Thank you,
job,
Sarah.
Frederick and Cheng. That was so fun.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you,
everyone.
Rosie.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
I said in the chat, but maybe you didn't see it. That
No, I did. I did see.
It made me want to work with teenagers now. So I'm like,
You should totally do that. Yeah, you should totally do that.
Thank
Yes.
you.
but
Thank
thanks, y'all. That was
you.
so fun.
Lovely.
You did a great job.
Bye.
Really
Thank
nice.
you.
Mwah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Wonderful.